The Israel-Palestine conflict has witnessed countless cycles of violence and ceasefires. Each event leaves behind a trail of pain, loss, and uncertainty. On February 22, 2025, a glimmer of hope emerged from the shadows of this protracted conflict. Hamas, the Palestinian militant group controlling the Gaza Strip, released 6 Israeli hostages. This act marked a significant development in the fragile ceasefire agreement established between Israel and Hamas. The release came after weeks of intense negotiations, mediated by international bodies. The hostages, held captive for varying periods, carried with them stories of resilience and the human cost of this enduring conflict. Their release ignited a wave of relief and cautious optimism, not just within Israel but across the globe. It signaled a potential turning point, a step towards a more peaceful future. However, the shadow of the conflict loomed large. The release, while a positive development, was just one step in a long and arduous journey towards a lasting peace. The underlying issues that fueled the conflict remained unresolved. Mistrust and animosity continued to simmer beneath the surface. The world watched with bated breath. Would this act of goodwill pave the way for further progress, or would it be another fleeting moment of hope in a seemingly endless cycle of violence? The 6 hostages represented the human toll of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Omer Wenkert, a young Israeli soldier, was captured during a border patrol. Hisham al-Sayed, an Israeli Arab, was caught in the crosshairs while visiting Gaza. Avra Mengistu and Tal Shoham, both struggling with mental health, crossed into Gaza and were detained. Elijah Cohen and Omer Shem Tov were abducted during their travels. Their captivity was a source of anguish for their families. The hostages' release brought immense joy to their families and the nation. The physical and psychological scars were evident, a reminder of the human cost. The release of these 6 hostages represented only a fraction of those still held captive. The release of the 6 Israeli hostages was not a unilateral act of goodwill. It was part of a complex and delicate prisoner exchange agreement between Israel and Hamas. Under the terms of the agreement, Israel agreed to release 602 Palestinian prisoners held in its jails. The exchange, brokered by Egyptian and Qatari officials, was the culmination of months of secret negotiations. Both sides had to make concessions, balancing their own security concerns with the humanitarian imperative of releasing captives. For Israel, it meant making the difficult decision to release individuals convicted of serious crimes, including acts of terrorism. The decision was met with mixed reactions within Israel. Some hailed it as a necessary step towards peace, a gesture that could help rebuild trust and pave the way for further dialogue. Others criticized it as a capitulation to terrorism, a move that could embolden Hamas and other militant groups. The prisoner exchange highlighted the complex web of political calculations and moral dilemmas that define the Israel-Palestine conflict. It underscored the high stakes involved and the immense challenges in finding a path towards a just and lasting peace. The release of the 6 hostages came on the heels of a heart-wrenching tragedy that had gripped the nation just days earlier. The bodies of 4 members of the Bibas family, kidnapped from their home during the recent escalation in violence, were returned to Israel. Kfir and Ariel Bibas, a young couple, were killed along with their 2 young children, leaving a void in the lives of their families and the nation. The brutal nature of their deaths, confirmed by the Israeli Defense Forces to have been at the hands of their captors, sent shockwaves through Israeli society. The Bibas family tragedy became a poignant symbol of the human cost of the conflict. It served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of innocent lives caught in the crossfire, and fueled the public outcry for the return of all Israeli captives. The return of their bodies, while bringing some closure to the grieving families, did little to assuage the anger and sorrow felt by many Israelis. It fueled the debate over the government's handling of the hostage situation and the broader conflict. Section 5. A History of Violence, the Israel-Palestine Conflict. The recent hostage release and the Bibas family tragedy are but the latest chapters in the long and bloody history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. This conflict, deeply rooted in religious, historical, and political claims, has defied countless attempts at resolution. At its core lies the struggle for land and self-determination. Both Israelis and Palestinians lay claim to the same territory, with each side harboring deep-seated grievances and distrust towards the other. Decades of violence, failed negotiations, and broken promises have left a legacy of pain, anger, and resentment. The conflict has manifested itself in countless wars, terrorist attacks, and uprisings. Each cycle of violence has resulted in the loss of countless innocent lives, further deepening the divide and pushing the prospect of a peaceful resolution further out of reach. The international community has long recognized the need for a two-state solution, with Israel and Palestine existing side by side as independent nations. However, achieving this goal has proven elusive, with numerous obstacles hindering progress. Section 6. A precarious peace, the current ceasefire. The release of the Israeli hostages and the ongoing prisoner exchange are taking place against the backdrop of a fragile ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. This ceasefire, brokered by Egypt in January 2025, brought a temporary halt to the latest round of fighting that had engulfed the region. The ceasefire, while tenuous, brought a much-needed respite from the violence. It allowed for the flow of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, where the humanitarian situation had reached a critical point. It also provided a window of opportunity for dialogue and negotiation, albeit a narrow one. However, the underlying tensions that sparked the conflict remained unresolved. The ceasefire agreement addressed only the immediate concerns, without tackling the root causes of the conflict. The risk of the ceasefire unraveling, plunging the region back into violence, remained high. The international community, recognizing the fragility of the situation, urged both sides to seize the opportunity presented by the ceasefire and engage in meaningful negotiations towards a lasting peace. Section 7. Beyond the barbed wire, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The recent conflict exacerbated the already dire humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. Years of blockade, recurrent conflicts, and political instability have left the territory's infrastructure in ruins and its population on the brink of collapse. The 2 million residents of Gaza face chronic shortages of essential goods, including food, water, and medicine. The healthcare system, decimated by years of neglect and underfunding, struggles to meet the needs of the population. Unemployment is rampant, and poverty is widespread. The recent conflict caused widespread destruction, further crippling the already fragile infrastructure. Homes, schools, hospitals, and vital infrastructure were reduced to rubble, leaving thousands displaced and vulnerable. International aid organizations have been working tirelessly to provide humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza. However, their efforts are hampered by the ongoing blockade and the complex political realities on the ground. Section 8. A Ray of Hope, the polio vaccination campaign. Amidst the despair and destruction, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of a mass polio vaccination campaign. Led by the World Health Organization and UNICEF, the campaign aimed to reach over 600,000 children in Gaza. The campaign, carried out in coordination with both Israeli and Palestinian authorities, highlighted the importance of cooperation even in the midst of conflict, when it comes to safeguarding the health and well-being of children. The vaccination teams, braving difficult conditions and security risks, worked tirelessly to reach every child, ensuring their protection against this debilitating disease. The success of the polio vaccination campaign served as a testament to the power of collaboration and the unwavering commitment of humanitarian organizations to alleviate suffering, even in the most challenging of circumstances. Section 9. A Crossroads of Conflict, the Road Ahead. The release of the 6 Israeli hostages and the ongoing prisoner exchange marked a pivotal moment in the Israel-Palestine conflict. It presented a rare opportunity for both sides to step back from the brink of violence and explore a path towards a more peaceful future. However, the road ahead remained fraught with challenges. The underlying issues fueling the conflict, land, security, refugees, Jerusalem, remained unresolved. Mistrust and animosity continued to run deep on both sides. The international community, recognizing the stakes involved, urged both sides to seize the opportunity presented by the recent developments and engage in meaningful negotiations towards a just and lasting peace. A two-state solution, with Israel and Palestine existing side by side as independent nations, remained the internationally recognized framework for resolving the conflict. The world watched with cautious optimism. Would this moment of fragile hope lead to a brighter future for both Israelis and Palestinians, or would it be another missed opportunity in a conflict that has claimed far too many lives? Only time would tell.